Hey, this is Kyle Starks. I am the writer for Peacemaker and Where Monsters Lie, and you are listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Smooth sailing, clear seas, blue skies.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like the beginning of The Simpsons.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
What's that from?
Friday Night Lights.
The show or the movie? Or did they say it on the show? Okay.
How about that?
I love that goddamn show.
A little bit of cross-pollination.
Love that show. Love that show, Vince.
I can't say I've ever seen it.
I'm not surprised.
Is it a baseball show?
About Texas football.
Oh, football.
Texas high school football.
Oh. There you go. There's the reason. Yeah.
It's true.
Like MASH. Did anybody from the movie stay on for the show, or is it a completely different cast?
I don't think so. I never saw the movie, so I can't.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 878. What's that called, Dap?
It's a palindrome.
It's a palindrome. And I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. Just like a race car, I am David A. Price.
Indeed. And of course, I'm a doctor, a professor, a lawyer, a philosopher, a scientist, a metaphysicist. I am Abraham von Helsing.
Wow. Did you have to Google all the things that he was?
I wrote it down in the notes from looking it up earlier, yeah.
Nice.
The Night Toker.
You are not Van Helsing. You are Jason Wood, everybody. Here together once again on this ordinary episode. Joy. It's pure, unbridled joy. And you know what else brings you pure, unbridled joy? Cheap. Graphicnovels.com. That's cheap. Graphicnovels.com has omnibus editions, trade paperbacks, original graphic novels, and manga, among other things, for drastically lower prices than what's printed on the back or front or spine, wherever. The retail cost is always laughed at cheapgraphicnovels.com. We are going to talk about a book tonight that we held over from last episode because we wanted to do it its justice. It's called #DRCL. It's actually Dracula without the vowels. So let's just call it Dracula, but it's #DRCL. Now you can get it at Amazon for $23.53. That's 13% off. But if you go to cheapgraphicnovels.com, you can get it for $20.25. That's 25% off. So, ergo, cheapgraphicnovels.com has prices lower than Amazon. I think the logic is sound, right?
Yes.
Obviously, the discounts are higher for Marvel and DC, but John Q. Public loves that shit. So, therefore, it gets bought, right? But there are many, many things at cheapgraphicnovels.com. Go there and check them out. And when you find something, inevitably, that suits your fancy, you're going to order it. You're going to get an email reply saying thank you for ordering at cheapgraphicnovels.com. You are going to reply to that email and say, it was all at the behest of 11 O'Clock Comics. They told me about this thing, and now I'm saving bake. And Max is going to gift you with free shipping on your next order. It's amazing. Just go there. cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Good old Max.
Good old Max is right. I am drinking the hard stuff. Yes, and when I say the hard stuff, I'm not lying. This thing is by New Trail Brewing. It's a local thing, relatively local. In honor of the upcoming Yuletide season, it's called Ugly Sweater Hazy Triple IPA. 11.2% alcohol by volume, and it's a 16-ounce can. After that's gone, look, I have from Sweetwater. This is becoming my favorite IPA. It's from Sweetwater Brewing Company. It's called 420 Strain. G13 IPA. We took an already dank IPA and married its hops with strain-specific terpenes and natural hemp-type flavor. The result is an aromatic, super hybrid, sticky IPA that's ready to rip, baby. And I love it. It is delicious, and I love the 420 edge. It's great. That's what I got.
Respect.
Yeah.
Look at you drinking.
Well, it's been a week, so
It has been a week. Much love to you and the family on that.
yeah, it's been a fucking week.
I too am drinking. It's been a week for me too, but not the same as yours.
Right?
So
No, hey, a week is a week. Were you waiting for accolades on that, or were you just like?
I was waiting for the pause, like the shock. I was.
Wait a minute. Take two. Really? You're
Yeah,
drinking?
yes.
Wow.
I know.
He loves us so much.
It's true. I am having a delicious wine. It was actually a gift from some folks that came to see us maybe like a month ago. Beth had some people over, some ladies for one of those book club events, such as it is. And it's become like a tradition. It seems like these things that all the women that they revolve, like she hosts and goes. It seems like they always bring the wine to the new host. Not that I'm mad at it. So this is one of those bottles, and I don't know which person brought it over, but they deserve mad credit because it's delightful. It is Curriculum Vitae, CV as in like resume, Curriculum Vitae. It's a red blend from Portugal of all places. So I think I know who this is from because we have one of our friends is Portuguese. So I think maybe they were trying to show off their homeland's grape, but it's really good.
Hey, Dap, it's from Portugal.
Nice.
We knew somebody from Portugal.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, was that where homie was from?
Yeah.
That's where Miguel was from.
Miguel was Portuguese. I didn't know
He
that.
was the Portuguese. You two are stupid.
With
You should be doing
wide
more.
collars and the blazers.
Yes.
God damn! How is he still like? How is he not? He's got to come back.
He's got to
We
be
need
out
him-
there somewhere.
dude. We need him to come on the episode 1000.
Okay. And because we would not be here in some semblance without Miguel, without his efforts. Yes.
I never met the man. I never saw the man, but yeah.
I was just a handsome dude, a little bit of a lazy eye, but he was
That's-
no, a little. He was fun to be around, but most of all, he called us stupid. You are stupid. You should be having the business cards to give to the people.
Yeah.
And he was right. The guy was right.
And we did. He even has his name on the back of the card.
Well, that rule
And-
certainly stuck in Dap's mind because Dap's
Yep.
always trying to bust out.
Oh
the
shit!
business
That
cards.
he's like, whoosh, he gets that business card out real quick. Here's our card. Thank you. It's
And most-
just a Big
and-
Mac.
and- and every once in a while, the creator will leave with the card. But the
Very rarely.
Miguel, he reminded me of Fez from the '70s show. He reminded me of Vilmer a little bit.
Yeah, a
well
little
hung
bit.
and ladies man.
A little bit. Why is that the rumor with
Not the
Vilmer?
rumor. He's notorious. He's a notorious poonhound and hammer.
Yeah,
Huh?
but just the hair,
it's my
the
brother,
attitude, the way yeah, exactly. He just it's because he was wearing he wore a sports jacket. He had the wide collar with the button undone a little bit,
Yeah.
showing off the neck. It was like hey, do you know where you are? And do you know what year it is? It was just a weird. It was a great first impression, but it took me aback slightly. But my man hustled. He went. He interviewed fucking Simone Bianchi. He talked to all the folks from the Dabble Brothers imprint. Like
He got his
he went-
Fraser Irving.
he got
So
his
what
Fraser
caused the
Irving.
falling out?
When the show stopped, he just went away.
Oh, so you rocked up both
Less-
Boltons and he disappeared?
Yeah.
He also he was really pushing it to be the media conglomerate behemoth
like
that it
website.
wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't. We weren't there yet. We weren't. We
It
had
wasn't
to,
this.
We had to crawl before we could walk. It was just like my man was just like, "This is what we're going to do," and it's like, bro, it's like we've done 8 episodes and we're just having fun. Like let's. I mean, we'll get there, but like we want it to be. Everything was always organic. It was just a natural progression from bullpen to this to what we're doing tonight. It's like we never. of course, we're in no rush to stop, but everything we're doing was just always, even whether it's the Patreon or to whatever, it's always been just every step of the way, for me anyway, just felt like it was just all organic.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there are things we try to do to make things better or to try different things, but we've never been like, oh, we got to stop everything because we're just going to become like some media.
Yeah, we never just set out to crush iFanboy. Like, that wasn't the goal.
Mm-hmm.
He would have liked this.
We actually talk about
you guys
comics.
could have done everything.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Jason's like, why you got to go there? Tap, what are you drinking?
I am having a delicious and refreshing, surprisingly, gin and tonic with Aviation Gin. Shout out to Ryan Reynolds.
You flying?
I'm flying, baby.
He's flying.
It's always nice that you support local. I mean, a guy like Ryan Reynolds really.
Yeah, he needs it. I'm gonna wait. I got to take this call on my Mint mobile phone.
He seems like a good guy, though. Mm-hmm. Whether it's true or not, I don't really care.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He is one of those Hollywood celebrities that, like Clooney, where you just think, I genuinely think he's a good dude. I'd feel some kind of way if like some scandal broke out claiming he did something, and I'd just be like, oh, that's fucked up. But yeah,
my man Justin Timberlake's in some hot water this week.
Well, yeah, Brittany wrote that book, yo.
Yeah, Aaron is grievances.
Okay.
He'll shrug it off.
Vince, I got no idea what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were a thing.
They were.
After the Mouseketeers, I guess. Whatever.
She had an abortion.
That's her prerogative.
Right.
It is, but in the book she says he pushed her to do it.
Oh, I was going to guess that he didn't know about it, but shit. Okay.
No, that's why he's in hot water, because in the book she says he really, because of their careers, I mean, she wasn't against it, but she basically says that he was really, and she did it. And I didn't read the book, but from what I understand, she even goes on to say, like, I'm not, like, I don't hold any grudge to him. We were teenagers, like, I made the decision on, like, I was fine with the decision, but like, how this is 2023, everyone's got, like, half the world now hates the guy, because he's a baby killer.
Oh, well.
Anyway,
it's none of anybody's business but the two of them. But
it really
isn't. But
really
she put it in the book. But yeah, so now it is. But whatever.
And she's not of sound mind too, which is like
that's what I hear. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Talk about a messy Instagram follow.
Yeah, I don't know. But speaking of messy, beautiful mess. Jason and I were going to talk about this book last time, but we held off because it gets involved. It's a little what? Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Like I said, it's pound sign. Don't make me find another person to be on the show. It's called pound sign DRCL, which is Dracula without the vowels. And I'll get into the pound sign why it's there in a second. Midnight Children, Volume 1. It's, of course, inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula, written and illustrated by Shinichi Sakamoto. And I believe it's published by Viz, correct?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the hashtag. Why is that hashtag there? Well, it's not at all keyed to social media. But it's tied to the novelty of the shift key and the pound symbol, which was introduced on the Remington Standard No. 2 typewriter. It was the first commercial typewriter produced in 1878 and the very device with which Mina Murray composes her journal. So it's novel, but it's not, right? Like we see a pound sign, it's like, oh, it's a hashtag. But it's all because of the typewriter. But Sakamoto's smart. So it has a dual nature, right? Anyway. Just like in Bram Stoker's original novel, Sakamoto's reimagining partly relies on character journals to propel the narrative, right? Mina's aforementioned journal, the captain's log of the Demeter. Do you say Demeter or Demeter? I say Demeter. Jason.
I mean, it's one of those, you can say it either. I say Demeter, but I don't know that.
Yeah, I
Matter's
think
wrong.
the English, the United States pronunciation is Demeter. I actually Googled it. You can say Demeter, right, or Demeter.
Yeah.
But I like Demeter better.
Okay.
But the book goes a bit further, and it injects novel devices of the period into the telling of the tale, like wax cylinders. You could actually buy a wax cylinder and record audio. There was a needle that pierced the wax, much like the needle that pierces the grinder that pierces the vinyl on a record. This needle would pierce the wax on the cylinder, and you can actually record a small amount of audio. It wasn't very long. And actually, the Kodak camera takes a role in this reimagining of Dracula. But as always, Mina is the focus. But in this case, she's the only female student in a male-dominated Whitby school. Now, this school is famous for grooming young men to become great leaders in service to the crown. It's a noble profession. She's incredibly smart, and she's resourceful. She can hold her own and frequently outclasses the boys in the school, which obviously renders her a target. She's bullied and beaten. But the novelty of this reimagining of Dracula to me is that Midnight Children is very much in keeping with the advancements we've made in gender roles. Now, Mina is a woman, so she's regarded as inferior by the male classmates, right? Her future is seen as, she should be a proper lady, which entails the pouring of tea and tending to of children. And that's not how she's made, right? She's not one to be pigeonholed. She believes that girls can do anything that boys can. And it's true, right? And she has a credo, catch as catch can, which means using every resource at her disposal to achieve her goals. She's got pluck, this Mina, right? But Mina is the least of the examples of inroads society has made in terms of gender identity. In Bram Stoker's novel, Lucy Westenra was Dracula's first victim in Britain. And Lucy's a woman, of course. In Midnight Children, Lucy's not Lucy, she's Luke. She's a fey male whose outward appearance is decidedly female. Long flowing locks and full lips and lashes. In fact, all the boys in this book are more than a bit fey and dandy, but none more than Luke. There's a mention of Luke being prone to fainting. He's very delicate, and in times of emotional turmoil or pressure, he has a tendency to faint. So all the boys in the group, and all the boys in the group amount to Lucy's suitors in the original novel. They're just transformed into young men in this book. But their goal is the same. They're all pretty much more or less in love with Luke. But Mina knows Luke's secret, right? And here's the deal. Luke, male, professes to carry the soul of a woman. Lucy. I think that's incredibly novel. I thought that was a very cool spin, especially these days when that stuff, ideas and concepts like that are very much at the forefront of our society, right? What does gender identity mean? What does it mean to be male? What does it mean to be female? Does the soul actually have a gender? Like, I love these discussions, these ideas, and it's right here in this book. And I'm very curious to learn what Jason thought of that aspect of the story.
Well, I mean, you hit on the most memorable component of the narrative, in as much as that there is one, is, like you said, is that the reimagining goes far beyond sort of like just shifting the time or anything like that. It's not just gender norms. There's also definitely a much more universal take on race, right? Because this is set in 19th century Britain at a boarding school, and one of the four main characters is Quincy, and he's a Black American kid, and obviously that would just never have been the case in 19th century England. So kudos to them there for sure. I mean, to me, and I'll let you go on, but to me, this book is like, and full disclosure, I didn't order this book initially. I didn't even remember seeing a solicit for it. But I love vampire stuff. And then you came onto the Slacks and were like, "Holy shit, this art! Look at this art!" And I was blown away by the art. And it doesn't take much for me to buy anything vampire related anyway. So I ordered it with quickness and read it for last week. The art in this book is otherworldly. It is astoundingly detailed in a way that certainly other manga is hyper detailed sometimes, but this is like every page. I can't imagine how long it took Sakamoto and his crew to draw this. I mean, it's absurd. Every page is just like a full on I don't know, it's
like an engraving.
Yeah,
they're very thin
like a
line.
Renaissance etching or something.
Yes,
it's ridiculous. And so
you do know that Sakamoto is 100% digital, right?
Oh, I did no idea. No,
100%. He likes the fact he loves the Control Z. He likes the fact that he can draw a line and rotate it or manipulate it. When I heard that, I was like, oh, Jason.
Is a lot of manga digital these days? I never even thought about that.
I would guess, because I mean, taking into consideration the fact that like Jace and other people have said they don't give a shit about the original art. Like there's not a huge secondary market for the art. I would think, in the sake of expediency, with just how like the volume of manga that's produced in terms of number of volumes and page count of each, that they would embrace digital. Yeah. Sad,
but yeah, for sure. I didn't know that, but the art is. If you come here for the art, you got to leave happy. There's no, I mean, I closed the book and thought, well, damn, that was a stunning visual escapade. Now, if I'm being completely honest, and why wouldn't I be? I mean, to me, this was like epic level, like Titan level style, and I struggled a bit with the substance. I didn't. I think you're alluding to. There's some interesting ideas and reimaginings of the classic Bram Stoker Dracula epic, but I mean, I thought, and frankly, this isn't all that unusual with some types of manga. It lacked cohesion and narrative for the sake of style. Sometimes I thought.
Well, it is only the first volume, but
I think
obviously I don't agree.
A beautiful mess is the best way to describe it.
Well, yeah, it is a mess. The art was obviously the draw for me, because you see the visuals first, and then you plumb the narrative, obviously, once you have the book in your hand. So there needs to be a hook to get that book into your hands, and obviously it was the art. But for me, if you are going to embark on an adaptation of Dracula, there has been countless adaptations of Bram Stoker's work, and we're going to get into more before the episode's over. But you need to do something that sets you apart from the herd, and it could be something as small as the gender issues, which are in this book. Like that, I don't believe I've ever read an adaptation or a reimagining of Dracula that employed these kind of concepts. So automatically, this is noteworthy for me, because I've never encountered it within the pages of Dracula before. So, all right, you've now managed to disassociate yourself from the countless other adaptations that have been out there. So that's a starting point. But it just doesn't end with the gender stuff. Quincy Morris, in this retelling, is a free slave. He's a free man, a wealthy black man from the States. And ironically, he's all about the rootin' tootin' cowboy life of the American West. Like, to pair a free black man with the mystique of the Wild West, like that's odd. That's really strange. There's a montage where the characters envision themselves in as different roles. Like Arthur Holmwood sees himself as King Arthur, and later in the book, Luke is the White Fairy Guinevere. Like, oh, okay. Quincy Morris is riding atop a steed with a cowboy hat and the chaps and everything else, and he's twirling a lasso or trying to rope a steer. But the weird one, John Seward, is not John Seward in this book. He's been retooled as Suwa Joe. He's a native of Japan, and he sees himself as a noble samurai. Like, it's just strange. It's so odd. So, I mean, obviously chances were taken with this book. Sakamoto didn't sit down and said, I'm going to do Dracula. Let me start at page 1. Like, no, there's reimagining, retooling, repurposing of characters. In some cases, just like transforming them whole cloth, like John Seward. And that's why, and one of the mottos of the group, the boys, they set aside skin color, nationality, and social standing to fight for what's right. Like, isn't that what we all should be doing? I mean, from the mouths of babes. The fact that Quincy's black doesn't register with them. And this is, we're talking, European. That was not a welcome thing, especially in the 1800s. Like, that was unheard of, and again, with the gender stuff, when we're introduced to Renfield, crazy bugfuck, which I think is an appropriate term for Renfield, who's also a student at Whitby, he's dressed in a full nun's habit. Like, I didn't understand it at first. I said, oh, okay, so Renfield's a woman. No, Renfield's a man. The outward appearance is that of a beautiful young girl, still has the, predilection for flies and other small creatures, but he's male. And I'm like, is that a Catholic or Christian form of self-flagellation that he's I don't know, because of the way that women were perceived in this time period as servants and housewives and uteruses. Is he persecuting himself by dressing like a woman? And he's often seen chained to the wall. And Jason, did you completely understand what was going on with Renfield?
Nary a clue.
Like, I'm hoping we get a glimmer as the series progresses, but I just don't. I think it's neat in a fetish kind of way, right? Or like bad nun movies are awesome. Wayward Nuns, they're great. And so, but the one cool thing, now, not the one, but one of the cool things that Sakamoto does with Renfield is he inserts this really clever nod to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Because Renfield stitches together a creature made from the head of a mouse, the wings of a bird, and the body of a frog, and does this demented puppet show called Renfield's Theater. And that's his, I think the puppet's name is even Frankie. And it's like, that's awesome. Like, that's a really, because, Frankenstein and Dracula, they're relatively contemporary novels, right? One is far better than the other, but whatever. I don't want to say any more. I don't want to spoil things too much. But the Voyage of the Demeter is revealed in disturbing detail. It's like ridiculous. I think it's the most graphically gut-wrenching I've experienced as far as the Demeter is concerned. There's a weird twist where the soil that Dracula is transporting to Britain, he needs it because he has to lay in repose in soil from his homeland. There are crates of soil with indentations of parts of a human body. Like one crate would be the head and the upper shoulders. A next crate would have the indentation of the torso. Then the other two would be the left and right arms. And then the other four would be the legs. And there's a plant creature construction that somehow blood lands on the soil. And this thing grows from the soil that looks like a monstrous Venus flytrap by way of Little Shop of Horrors, like emerges from the soil. And it's insane. But you need to experience it. I think this is just, it's really bizarre stuff, but couched in a novel and very welcome exploration into gender roles and identity. I think it's awesome.
The Demeter scenes in the beginning of the book, I think, are the strongest. And I thought we were going to go there entirely. I thought there was going to be the entire idea of what Dracula was going to be reimagined. And I was like, oh man, I'm here for this. Because like you said, visually that was crazy and super, super well done.
But what is that thing that grows from the soil? Is that Dracula? Does it somehow?
Yeah, I assumed that was Dracula, right? I mean, it's Dracula. It's in the soil.
It looks like his eyes.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying, but I think it's like his persona.
So that thing somehow gels into the body of anthropomorph. It's so strange. I love it. It's so weird. I think it's the visuals are absolutely breathtaking. Ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
Any idea how long this is supposed to go? Because this is volume 1.
I don't know, but I'm hoping at least. I'm hoping at least 6 to 8 would be really nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. But I think it's just astounding. I mean, if you're a fan of Bram Stoker and or Dracula and or vampires, I really think you need to read this. Hardcover. They heard my wishes.
Viz always does it right with the packaging.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And this is Viz's signature. That's why it's a hardcover. It's the same thing, same imprinted as the Edo books.
It's astounding. It's probably I know I'm going to depart from with Jay. It's probably the best thing I've read all month.
No, that's cool. I mean, like I said, I'm glad I read it because the visuals are ridiculous. But no, I'm not going to continue with it.
Oh, sad trombone.
No, it's not. No, I mean, in a world where I had unlimited reading time, I'd keep reading it.
Well, you're not reading Marvel, so let this take all that time.
Well, that is true.
Ooh, 11.2. Wow. What else do we have, gents?
Well, let's hear from our man Dap. We talked for a long time right there.
Did we though? Yeah, I guess we did. Yeah. Sorry.
No, why are you apologizing?
I'm not apologizing. I'm apologizing to him.
Bro.
Dap, what you got?
So I decided to what the hell? Where the hell is it? Yeah, there were a couple things that I was catching up on. A couple of, well, sort of like I guess kind of like a quick hit, more or less. But I was catching up on World's Finest because I let a couple of issues stack up because there was a two-parter where it was Wade's telling of the first time Superman and Batman teamed up, and of course by extension, the first time Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne met, and that was it involved the Riddler dealing with on a crime spree, but there was also people just completely disappearing in Gotham, and that was the weirdest thing. And but there were clues left, and the clues were written in Kryptonese, and of course, Superman recognizes the letters, and so he goes and he talks to Gordon, and there was some nice little moments where Gordon tries to say, well, he's not looking behind him, and he's just talking out loud. And he says, well, it was bound to happen one of these days. I was finally going to hear you creep up on me, but it turns out it wasn't Batman after all. It was just Superman hanging out in the window. So they had a nice little chat, and Bruce Wayne had a real slick way in figuring out that Clark Kent and Superman are the same being. When Clark goes to Bruce's house at Wayne Manor, Bruce lets him in and says, I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes. And he leaves Clark in his study. And when Bruce finally comes back tens of minutes later, he basically just says, now we can get down to it, and maybe Superman can get involved. And Clark's like, yeah, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm out of here. He's like, well, no, see, before you go, I just want to let you know that there was a gas in this that I let escape in this room, and it would have knocked a human out. Obviously, you didn't breathe it in, so everything came together, and then he, of course, lets Clark down the stairwell and introduces him to the Batcave. So secrets are revealed, and the disappearing had to do with somebody who on the other side who figured out a way to escape the Phantom Zone and was putting civilians in the Phantom Zone in the hopes that Superman would come to their rescue and he'd be able to imprison Superman there. But that didn't work out the way he wanted. And then the most recent issue goes back to an earlier story when Wade kicked off World's Finest with this kid David, who ends up growing up to be like another character, and now Superman and Batman have been sent to the Kingdom Come Earth, and David isn't exactly happy to see Superman again, at least the Superman that he remembers. So pretty much a cliffhanger there. And then I decided to give, since I enjoyed Wesley Dodd's The Sandman #1 so much, I decided to give Alan Scott Green Lantern a shot. And it was fine. It's of all the Lanterns, not like Alan Scott is in my top 5. I understand the legacy. I understand I appreciate where he stands as far as the Justice Society and the All-Star Squadron and Golden Age heroes, but there were some editor's notes that obviously, if you had read some of the previous DC Pride books, there were some things in here where it wasn't. It was a pretty well told chapter, but there were some things where if you are a longtime Alan Scott fan, or if you've been reading anything that had to do with Alan Scott over the past 5 years, you probably get a lot more out of this first issue. But it starts off with Hoover being the asshole that he is and basically blackmailing Alan Scott and letting him know that Green Lantern is going to do his bidding and team up with the other heroes of your Justice Society, because if your sinful, bestial extravagances are, outed to the public, that's not going to bode well for you during this time of backwards thinking folks. So that was an interesting take, but there's a lot of there's Alan Scott seems to be conflicted, and some of it is some of what he does is or some of the problems he, from what I can tell, from how it's presented to me at least. I'm rooting for the guy, but some of what he goes through is kind of self-inflicted, and I get it. It is that era. It's that time. You've got to be. It's not easy, obviously, but he and his lover are engineers in the Army working on containing or dealing with something called the Crimson Flame, and that doesn't necessarily work out all that well. The last page is a killer, and it really pisses me off. So I kind of want to check out the second issue just to see where it goes from here. I thought the art was fantastic. By I'm gonna butcher my man's name because I always do, but it's Tormey from who drew Tom Taylor's
Sean. It's pronounced Sean.
Thank you. See, I keep wanting to do a hard C, but yeah, Sean Tormey, who I don't know if he's one of Declan's students or if he's worked with Declan in the past, but he's done work for Tom Taylor on the John Kent stuff. I do like his style. It's different than I'm not trying to compare Riley and Sandman with this book. It's just that they both have the Golden Age JSA subtitle, the prefix, but it was of the two so far, because I haven't checked out the Jay Garrick book yet, but it's learning about Alan Scott. I think it's a valiant effort. But as far as the first issue goes, and trying to maybe do this new Dawn of DC, or maybe introduce him to readers who aren't too familiar with him, then I think this did a good job. And the other thing is, shout out to Dan T, because back at New York Comic Con, he was handing out some goodies, and the MS Harkness 6 mini comics was and I have to thank Vince as well, because Vince had it in his hand and then just turns around and hands it to me and says, "No, you'll get a kick out of this." And you were absolutely right. I think Harkness is I'm a fan of the style, and I am absolutely a fan of the storytelling and these tales that she's telling in these mini comics are funny and scary, and I can't believe this happened, or just to yourself, and it's very I can sympathize with some of it, obviously not everything, because I don't know what it's like to have a tampon stuck all the way up there for weeks, but there are just there are just things that whether it's hanging out with her friend at an anime convention while her friend is doing commissions, or she's with another friend where they're at a powerlifting conference and a weightlifting conference, and they've got each other's backs, and seeing how that whole type of situation or event unfolds, and what's necessary, and how you have to get ready for it, and what goes on throughout the day, dealing with things going on with your body that I would never in a million years be able to understand, but she's got it out here for everybody to see, including her time that she would spend with gentlemen callers, where she'll go out to dinner or to meet somebody, and basically have sex for money, and it's the way it's presented, the way it's all laid out was it was an absolute treat. I got to thank Dan a ton for this. I will definitely be checking out more of her work. She's a Patreon, so I'm thinking about that just so I can get more of what she's working on as it's being produced. But this was an absolute blast. I like this a ton. It really was a and they're not all the comics are all of varying lengths. There's some that are quite long, and then there's a couple that are just a handful of pages and just to get the point across. But I think but seeing what she does day in day out or just throughout the months was enlightening and like I said, scary in parts, but it was a lot of fun. I will say that. So yeah, I mean, just a couple quick hits, and I will also add that I thought while it was kind of a quick read because of just the way that the story was laid out. I thought I enjoyed the second issue of King's and Samperi's Wonder Woman. I enjoyed the second issue more than I enjoyed the first, and I did like the first, but I thought the second, just the whole confrontation, the standoff between Diana and Steele, and now Steele has involved Steve Trevor, and seeing Diana dealing with what's in front of her, was obviously we needed the first issue to get here. It wouldn't have made sense if we started off with the second issue, but Tom was very slick, which we know, but he did some things in the second issue and introduced or revealed some things that we weren't aware of in the first issue. So the third, things are going to probably heat up even more, but I thought the second issue was really, really good, especially after the first. So yeah, I'll leave that for now as quickly, because I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about the other two books that also include Dracula or a Dracula until we all
well, I didn't read Midnight Show number 2, so you better not say anything about
Wait,
that.
what?
I forgot it.
I read it today.
I forgot it.
Hey.
Okay, well, first of all, we will, as the night goes on, have a Vampire-O-Rama for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Because this in May, we've been doing the show for 15 years. I'm going to go out and pull a Vince here and say I'm going to be hyperbolic and say we are about to have the most unlikely O-Rama in our show's history, because we have a fucking MS Harkness-O-Rama.
Yes.
That is baffling.
Well, I thought you needed more than 2.
Oh, bro.
No, that's not by me. I use 2. I go by 2.
He had 6. He had 6. He had 6 stories he read. So
now wait a minute. Wait, before you get into it, we need a little breather here.
Okay.
I have something very interesting to tell you.
Oh.
So I'm at the shop today, picking up my books, one of which was not Midnight Show number 2 because I forgot to get it. But anyway, I'm stupid. So Dave keeps excellent data about all of his sales, right? Keeps an eye on everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to tell you the conversation that instigated it. Maybe I will. But towards the tail end of the conversation, he said to me, "Do you know what has been the absolute best-selling back issues for 30 years in this shop?"
30 years?
Yes.
That kind of, I mean...
That's a long time. And I said, well, no.
By the way he couched it, are you saying like these particular issues have continued to sell for 30 years, or do you mean in the last 30 years, what is the best-selling thing?
They continue to sell. The more he stocks them, the more they sell.
Okay. And
they are perennial hits. He will get people walking in off the street wanting them, non-regular customers, of course. Regular guys who didn't buy them in the past now want to read them.
So something that came out before the early 90s.
No, it's
30 years would have been 93, so.
So it's early 90s, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it wasn't a surprise to me, but in a way it was that they have that, obviously, at least in his shop, they have that kind of staying power where they are, year after year after year, the best-selling back issues. What do you think it is? Good money would lay odds on Watchmen, right?
No, because people don't buy the issues.
They buy the book. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you think?
Death of Superman?
Nope.
Spawn?
Nope.
It's not Savage Dragon. It's not
I don't know,
Turtles.
dude. Dead air here. Why don't you get it
It's not crazy. McFarlane Spider-Man.
Oh, interesting. Oh, really?
Yes.
No, see, that's surprising. Okay.
Not only amazing, but singular titled Spider-Man.
Right.
And I said, really? Those aren't that expensive. He goes, no, that's the thing. They can come in and buy his whole run for like $3 a pop. And they love it. They get to read a whole run. But the thing that instigated the conversation was, I said to him, what are you going to do with this 10 new title McFarlane thing that's going on? He's like, here's the deal. He said, Spawn sells what it always sells. It took a jump with issue 300, and then it settled down. He said the secondary titles, like the Scorch, the Gunslinger, and Kingspawn, he said they started off good, but they've plummeted. Like, he hardly moves any copies of those issues. And he said that's what he expects the new line to do. He said 350's coming up. Spawn will jump with 350. Eyes will be on these titles. He's looking forward to the Palmiotti Gunslinger Western, which is pretty much a no-brainer. But he said, I'm probably going to sell a decent amount of the 10, but then after a couple months, I won't be able to move them for anything. But he's really smart when he pre-orders stuff. He looks at his numbers and he looks at his history, and he says, "All right, this did this. I'm guessing that this, which is related to that, will perform equally." So like Dave's got his head screwed on real tight. But I thought that was amazing that even Torment, the aptly named Torment, continues to be one of the best-selling back issues.
Baffling.
Right? I could see, amazing. That stuff was really good, right? And it's a high watermark in amazing. But I said, well, how about McFarlane's run on the Hulk? He goes, nah, can't give him away. It's got to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
I mean, it's just because, I mean, yeah, as cool as those few issues of the Hulk looked, Todd was born to draw Spidey in that style. So I mean, does he? It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously we've had the multiple printings of this first issue, and there's plenty of first printings out there now. I'm not worried about that. But like, is he just whatever comes in, whether it's the platinum cover, the green, whatever?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No, they come in and they go out.
Does he price them differently based on the variant, or is it just like whatever? It's old enough now, or who cares?
I'm assuming he consults Overstreet. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, Dave has a very liberal pricing on back issues. So it's like if Overstreet says 20, he's not going to charge 20. It's in the ballpark, but then he has sales where it'll be like half off back issues. He doesn't like to keep stock in the store. So he's a good businessman. But I thought that was really cool that even after all these years, McFarlane Spidey's the one people want. I said, what about the Larson? He's like, nope. I said, well, how about Ditko? Yeah, Ditko stuff sells. But the Romina stuff, not so much. And then Ross Andrew, forget it. Like, what?
It's just like, it's 16 issues. It's an easy set to complete.
But some of them are expensive.
What, the X-Force issue? I don't know. I mean, hopefully nobody's buying it for the writing. It just there isn't much to read.
Oh, you're talking about Todd's
the torment. Yeah.
Ugh.
I
mean, listen, we've litigated that before. These pre-image founded, drawn, written books at Marvel were not they were not Pulitzer.
But they were fun though. They were
and
that's what comics should be.
I mean, like we said, when they were coming out, they were the thing. I mean, they were. Beth and I were trying to think back of all the weddings we've attended. It was because of the Save the Day events, and we were like, we're thinking about how we were explaining to our youngest how we, there's a period of your life where you just go to weddings nonstop, like it's incessant, right? Like in your mid to late 20s and then early 30s, and then. I mean, I can't remember the last wedding I've been to, right? And we do it like maybe one every year or two now. And then I said, now we're going to get back into this cycle again where we start going to a bunch because, like with you, like our friends' kids are getting married, right?
Yeah.
And that got us to like start reminiscing about all the weddings we've been to. And we could, between us, we're like, well, I know we were at that one, but we couldn't remember a single thing about it. Like, we're like, well, I know we went, but I don't remember where it was, who was there. I don't have any memories from it. The reason I bring that up is because I remember like it was yesterday walking into my LCS and buying Spider-Man #1. I remember like it was yesterday when I bought all the different covers to X-Men #1. I remember it literally like it happened yesterday. So clearly it matters, right? Like those things matter in the sense that if at 50 years old I can remember these things like they were yesterday and I can't remember what I did last week, like that tells you that they made an impact.
Right. And like Tony, I think the first 5-7 years of Image, I think those books are great. They're not, again, like you said, they're not literary masterpieces, but they were fun. Yeah. They were a whole bunch of fun, and part of me wishes we can have that again.
Well, they
never, but I get it.
Yeah, and they obviously Marvel tried it with the Ultimate Universe. They're trying it again now with the Ultimate Universe. But what was great about it was that we were. Yeah, I know, no doubt.
It's unraveling already.
With the Image stuff, I mean, we were there for the ground floor. It's just like Valiant. We were there at the beginning. We got to see it all start. We were. So it was there was like an ownership or some pride of commitment or whatever, but it was new and it was exciting. We didn't have decades of characters and stories to try to catch up on to read everything, and you got to pick it. I mean, whether you had, I get it. I still think about the crossover months. I love that issue of the Jim Lee drawn Savage Dragon. I'm sure I don't think Eric likes it as much as I do. He went back and did a number issue 13, but it was still I enjoyed all of that.
Yeah,
I mean that cover with him in the sewer with the flat. I think Jim draws a great Savage Dragon. I mean Jim draws a great pretty much anybody, but I for whatever reason Eric's character drawn by Jim Lee just really works. But no, the Image stuff way back when was
so much fun, and now I'm buying all the ones I missed. Like it's just ridiculous. You could, they were making money, making boatloads of money, but there was a joy in the pages and in that art that we've lost that.
Well, no, again, we've lost it because we've read comics for 30 years.
Right, that's what I mean.
Right. Oh, you mean we like? Because I'm saying like the industry, like the hobby still creates those moments.
Sure. Yeah. But that wide-eyed, holy shit! Have you seen this? Look at this, Billy Kincaid. What is going on? This is insane.
But are we always? I mean, the reason we're doing this, like, I feel like we're always on the search for that, right? Like,
right.
And yes, those moments come far fewer and less frequently than they used to, but they still come enough that we're like, oh yeah, like when it happens, it's just great. It's just grand,
right?
Right.
So there you go, like just a little anecdote from Wednesday Comics, right?
I like it.
I aim to please. Yes. Well, if you want to embark on your MS Harkness-O-Rama, I'm here for you.
Yeah. Well, this also, I mean, thanks to I hope Tancredi's getting a vig from her because Tancredi is clearly emerging as a tastemaker among the EOC faithful because he popped into the Slack. We have a Slack channel called Best Thing I Read this week. Very self-explanatory. People post their favorite thing of the week. And Dan, a week or two ago, posted about this here book called Time Under Tension, which is a full-size graphic novel from M.S. Harkness, published by our good friends at Fantagraphics. And y'all know I fucks with Fantagraphics hard. I pretty much buy everything that they put out, at least new stuff. And I had ordered this. So when I saw his recommendation, I thought, oh, bang, I'm gonna pull this off the pile and prioritize this with the quickness. Because he posted about it, and then a few other people, including John Passalacqua, who has impeccable taste, also said, yeah, it's certainly in the running for me for my favorite graphic novel of the year. And I thought, oh shit, I got to get on this. It's incredible. I mean, as Dap said, M.S. Harkness is a really interesting person. I don't know how old she is now. I mean, I'm guessing late 20s, early 30s would be my guess. But she's an indie comics creator, largely doing autobio comics. This book, Time Under Tension, is the third full-size graphic novel that she's done. She did the 6 mini comics that Dap just talked about. She's done a few other things like Poison Pill. She's been in some of the anthologies we've talked about over the years, like Now, and a few others. But her graphic novels have been Desperate Pleasures, Tinderella, and then this. Now, I didn't realize until after reading this that this is effectively like the third. It's a series. Like I didn't realize. So I stepped into volume 3 of the series. But since it's autobio comics, it doesn't really matter, right? Like it's just this is a window of her life, right after graduating from art school for the next calendar year. And from what I gather, her first 2 books were much less focused on linear storytelling. She jumped around, talked about different issues and concepts that of her life, and did a lot of time shifting. And in homage to those first 2 books, she starts Time Under Tension in the same way. So for the first 60 pages, you're bouncing around a few months back and forth, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks from now, a month ago, that kind of thing. As we're meeting different characters. Now I say characters, it's her. We're meeting her and the people in her life, largely centered around her graduation from art school and the life that she's living in the process. But she then makes the conscious decision to, after the 60 pages, to depart from that, and for the first time in her storytelling career, tell a full-length linear story. And I really love the way she does it in the book, because it's like a cold open. You know how if you're watching like maybe an hour-long drama or something, sometimes it'll be like 10 minutes into the episode before you see the show credits. It's kind of like what happens here. You start into the book, you have that time shifting, like I said, and then 60 pages in, you get the credits page, the cover page, and then it starts the narrative, which I liked. I like that. It's just a clever thing that I don't know that I've seen too many times. But yes, it's autobio about her. I knew nothing about her coming into this, and a few of the things like Dap mentioned are pretty present here. She is as we meet her, like I said, she's graduating from art school, and she is trying to figure out what to do with the next part of her life. She gets through her professor, a professor that liked her work and her eye. He is friends with Frank Santoro Vince. So Frank Santoro,
Frank,
invites her to Pittsburgh, where Frank is from, to come and set up shop at an artist row house that he has that different artists can be and create, to just work on her work and be around other creatives. And so that's where she's heading, and that's where a lot of the book takes place. But before that, we kind of get a glimpse into what's been going on in her life. As Dap says, she was a prostitute, a sex worker. She frequently met up with men and gave them sex for money. She, like I said, also went to art school. She was also very much into physical fitness, to the point where the title of the book, Time Under Tension, for those of you that might recognize it, it is a term that relates to exercise. It's basically like the time when your muscles are strained. So like if you're doing like a bicep curl, right? Like it's the as you're lowering the bicep, as you're lowering the weight, right? Like that part is the time under tension, like where your muscles like being tense, trying to hold the weight up, right? Versus like yanking it up. So anyway, it's a fitness term. And as she's graduating school, her plan is to go to Pittsburgh, write this graphic novel, which is her first, get it published, and supplement her living by becoming a personal trainer, and that's really pretty much what she does. And all the while, she's got different ongoing relationships. She's had an on again, off again relationship with an MMA fighter who has a girlfriend but really loves her, and she loves him. Like I said, she's a sex worker and the like. And then she's also got a fucked up childhood. She was unfortunately brutally sexually molested and abused by her father for years. And at the point that we meet her in the book, her father's in prison, or had served in prison, is out, but a counseling center has reached out to her right like a couple days before graduation, saying, your dad's here getting, counseling, and he wants to meet you and apologize and make amends. It's part of his process. If you'd like to participate, let us know, that kind of thing. And her mother's still in her life, but as you can imagine, when you've gone through that kind of trauma, while it seems like she loves her mom, she also obviously has some pretty deep-seated animus toward her, because the fact that, at least in some way, her mom enabled all of that, right? And the fact that she didn't stop it or prevent it. So she's a very complicated woman, and but all throughout this, it's really just about her journey to want to be an artist and create comics, but in her own way. And there's this great scene, and I don't know much about Frank Santoro the person, Vince, but you might appreciate this. She's in Pittsburgh, they're hanging out there at a bar, and Frank is kind of going like a manic rant a bit, and he's just telling her how, there's just not enough female voices in indie comics, and there's not a voice of the era, of the generation, and it really needs that, and that she should step up and just be that voice, and he's like really manic about it, he's like just super impassioned about it, and she's like, dude, whatever, I don't want to be the voice of anybody I want to make comics about, make me happy, I'm not trying to be the voice of a generation, that's not my thing, and that's kind of her vibe. She's just trying to live her life. At one point, she's having a dinner with two other graduates from her class, and they're very kind of I'm working on this story for the New Yorker, and I'm trying to get into this anthology, and she's like, well, and she's like, well, I'm trying to get my physical therapist certification here, and they're like, well, why wouldn't you want to be an illustrator while you do your own GN, why wouldn't you want to? And she's like, because I'm drawing for myself. I don't want to draw for other people too. I want to have I want to have balanced life. So it's just very interesting. In our world where you don't sure, there are people we joke about the Jorge Jimenez's and guys like that clearly physical fitness is important to them. Obviously the guy's built like a god, but you don't hear too many stories of people in the creative world also equally valuing something physical fitness and strength and that kind of thing. So it's fascinating to me that for her they're of equal importance to her. So again, I think I'm a fan of autobiographical comics, clearly, and I think for me, I've read a lot. I think some are terrible, some are okay, and some are great. And I often try and figure out what's the formula, why do I think some are great and some don't do anything for me. And I don't know that I've got it totally figured out, but I think in the case where it really resonates with me, it's when I feel like someone brings an unpredictable perspective into a predictable thing. It's like writing about your own life. It's all about how you perceive it, right? How you're putting it out there for others to consume. And sometimes it can be very maudlin. Sometimes it can be very rote. Sometimes it can be a little too glorifying, right? Or self-aggrandizing. So I think in the ones that really resonate with me, it's with when they take a very introspective perspective that's not completely self-effacing, but at the same point in time is very real with themselves. They accept their warts, but they don't punish themselves for their warts, right? They're not woe is me, I suck, but they acknowledge that they're flawed people, because we're all flawed. And I think generally speaking, I'm attracted to flawed characters, right? Characters that aren't pristine. We've talked about it before. It's why I've always had trouble connecting with a Superman, because he's perfect, and I know for some people that's the allure, but for me, it's always been kind of a turnoff. So I love this book. I thought it was really well done. Her art style, Dap touched on it a bit. Like it's very much like stark black and white. She's got this big long black hair, and in the book she draws this giant mane of black hair. It's very cartoony, like almost like Kim Possible kind of the line work. Like it's like big faces, kind of small stick figure bodies, but very accomplished in a very tight line. Like it's certainly very polished cartooning, but it's definitely more cartoony than realistic looking. But I thought it was fantastic, so much so that I'm very much looking forward to going back and reading Desperate Pleasures and Tinderella. As I understand it, they just are other parts of her life. And she noted that the one before this was very dark because it probably, I'm imagining it goes into her childhood more and her abuse. But so she said she really wanted to make this not necessarily uplifting, but just more, just a more balanced approach. And the cool thing is now I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how old she is, but I was checking her out online. Like she's like living her best life now. She's still a physical trainer. She's personal trainer. She's, like I said, making these books, and she's about to get married. Just bought a house. So it seems like it's going well for her. So I really I grok with people who have had not such great pasts, but don't let it define them. Like it's clearly a part, like obviously her abuse is a part of her life and it informs her. And certainly she's working through some of those issues in her work, but she never once takes it as a reason to not be successful or pursue happiness. And that resonates with me to the millionth level because that's how I've lived my life. I've been very candid about, the childhood I had and the stuff I had to deal with. And I just always thought dealing with it, like you can't let those things define you. And I'm not saying that for some it's impossible not to, and I'm not suggesting like everyone's got to go through their own process, but I really appreciate when I come across someone who has been, presented with a difficult childhood, to say the least, and can work through it and be impacted by it, certainly, but at the same point in time can not let it, define the fact that they can be happy and be successful and have the life they want to have. And that really seems to be the life she's living. So, I'm right there with her on that. And I loved it for that. So huge 2 thumbs up on Time Under Tension. I almost pulled a Vince and said this is going to be in the running for the 11 o'clock Oscars, but I can't say that for sure just because this is going to be a incredible year for the category of original graphic novel. So I can't say that it's going to make it's going to make my ballot, but it certainly will be in consideration when I'm tallying things in a few months.
Right. Wouldn't want to pull a Vince, would you?
Wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
Could pull on Vince.
Well, I think we have 28 categories, and I think you're on record for giving 60 O'Clockers this year already. So
there you go.
Why are you laughing?
I am laughing.
Laughing at that.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing inside.
But it doesn't sound like you're laughing.
Well, Harkness. I haven't read this stuff, and but it sounds like she has the magic ingredient, right? The stuff that differentiates her work from all of the other similar approaches. Which, yeah.
Well, and you hate to compare. I mean, Tilly, right? Obviously, we're all huge marks for Tilly, and her work last year was our collective favorite book of the year.
Zoe.
Tilly, Jesus. Yeah, I'm thinking Tilly because
well, Tilly too. But yeah,
well,
Zoe.
Tilly too. But Zoe, right? This is not visually like what Zoe's doing, right? Like Zoe's visuals were astounding, right? Because of the way she played with all the different mediums and so confidently zigzag between them and the like. I don't think this is that kind of thing visually, and this is obviously a visual medium. But so this is more like in the vein of but the visuals certainly are good enough to convey the story. So I would put this on a different rung of the cosmic ethos of autobio, but it's still really well done and well executed.
Right. But in terms of that magic ingredient, it is the very thing that I look for when embarking on yet another adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, yes.
Because there have been, I don't know, a bazillion. Many. Dick Giordano did one. Friggin' Gil Kane did the mutant fuck up that was Gil Kane did one. Like, I always look for that one thing that separates the adaptation from the herd. Like, what is that crucial piece that you've included that no one else did, right? Mm-hmm. So that was in the back of my mind when reading Universal Monsters, Dracula #1, written by James Tynion. Is it?
Sure.
Okay. It's supposed to rhyme with onion, right? So it would be Tynion.
Right.
James Tynion IV. Illustrated by Martin Simmonds. Now, unlike #DRCL, this is an adaptation of the Universal 1931 Todd Browning Dracula. Hence the Universal Monsters in the title. So it differs very much from the Bram Stoker version. In this issue, the Jonathan Harker ordeal within the confines of Castle Dracula never happened. It starts in Britain with Dracula coming over on the Demeter and mostly concerns itself with Renfield. And I think, however small, Martin Simmonds' depiction of Renfield is the thing that differentiates this issue from, or this approach from all of the other approaches of Dracula so far. I'm not saying it's a masterstroke, but his depiction of Renfield is incredibly vivid and novel and is what I took away from this issue. Had he not removed Renfield's nose, which is basically all he did to render Renfield as creepy as fuck, this would be just another adaptation of Dracula to me. I think the art is good, and one or two pages really good, but I think the visuals are pretty standard for someone who has obviously learned from, Sienkiewicz and Dave McKean, right? There's no stretching here. It looks good. The book looks good, but it's not a novel take on Dracula, with the exception of Renfield. I think Renfield was really well done. It's kind of like, I saw it as, that little game you play in school where one person whispers something in someone's ear and they pass it on, right?
Telephone game.
Yeah, telephone game. Well, it's like Sienkiewicz whispered the magic recipe in John J. Muth's ear, who whispered that magic recipe into Kent Williams' ear, who then whispered it into Dave McKean's ear. By the time it got to Martin Simmonds' ear, the gist is the same, but some of the finer points are lost along the way, right? I think that Simmonds is good, but he's nowhere near in league with the people I just mentioned, right? His art is accomplished, but I don't think there's anything novel about it. I still think he's in servitude to all of those people, especially Sienkiewicz and McKean. But was it enjoyable? That's the bottom line, right? Did I walk away from this issue thinking, wow, that was worth my $4.99? Yeah. Yes. I thought so. I think, obviously I'm going to read it till its conclusion because it's Dracula and it's fairly well done. But it was the Renfield depiction that took this out of the same old category for me. I'm sure your opinions may differ.
Go ahead.
No, I think I completely agree with you. We're coming at this from different directions in the sense that Dap and I have implored you to read Department of Truth for a long time, and
right.
You were reluctant because Simmonds' art doesn't grab you generally. You finally succumbed. because of the content. And similar to this, I think the
Yeah.
content of the story, you're like, all right, I'm in because of the content. But I don't disagree with you. I think as I was reading it, I thought, I mean, I hadn't really codified it in the way that you did, but hearing you say it, I'm like, no, I think that's right. Like where, a lot of the pages I think are good, but in as much as we're comparing it to the standard by which those two greats laid that style out for us visually, I mean it's not that, but I think this is a story that certainly fits with his style, and I'm down for him. Listen, Danhausen never looked better, so I'm down for him throwing Danhausen as Renfield. That's cool. Clearly, he's an AEW fan.
Wait, what is that?
The way he draws Renfield, I think, looks like Danhausen, who's this gimmicky, tiny little goth character wrestler in AEW.
Because it's Dwight Fry.
Yeah, no.
He looks a lot
Right,
like...
yeah, no.
Right,
Donovan
yeah,
Danhausen is just a dude who wears the grease paint, the old white grease paint.
Oh,
Looks like
gotcha.
So face is very similar to that.
No,
but
I was trying to make Dap laugh.
I appreciate the fact that Simmonds is approaching the art from a challenging perspective. Like, I mean, yes, it obviously doesn't look like every other book on the stands, but those, not familiar with Sienkiewicz and McKean and John Muth would look,
Williams, right?
Yeah, would look at this and be like, "Oh, this is amazing." But when you've been around or you've been exposed to the work of those gentlemen, you'd be like, "Yeah, okay, I can see where the roots are in this stuff, and from where he's taking his influences." Maybe I don't know Simmonds, so maybe he just was unlucky to develop a style that's almost entirely beholden to those guys. But it as a sequential storytelling vehicle, it worked for me. There wasn't much novelty in the approach other than Renfield, is what I'm saying. I thought the depiction of Renfield was really cool. I like the bugs on the arm. I like the bugs in the teeth. The
lack of nose.
The lack of nose was the kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, the one or two panels where he does show the nose, I'm like, oh, you broke character.
No
why
profile.
Why are you doing that? No, don't do it. It's neat. It was cool. So, I mean, and very much worth my money. I think because it's, a co-production with Universal, of course Dracula's going to look like Bela Lugosi, right? Like that's the template. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the adaptation of Dracula by Fernando Fernandez. Like, that book is fucking incredible. Like, you walk away from that book, wow, that was a masterpiece. It's just gorgeous. And I think it was published in 84, but I think it's still in print. Ballantine or something. But like, that takes the wind out of your lungs. Like, whoa, this is gorgeous. This was good. Like, I enjoyed it. I was like, happy. This is all right. There's a Dracula book on the stands, and it looks good. It's great. But it's I wouldn't put it on the same level as a lot of the Dracula adaptations of the past.
Right on.
Yeah.
I for some reason, it was one of the largest PDFs Image ever sent out for a standard 30-odd page comic. Like, the file size was larger than the Reckless books. It was insane. But when I'm downloading it at first so I could read the PDF, and I'm like, there's got to be something like elaborate about this. But it's just, I don't know why files are saved that way.
Well,
but
it just depends on the DPI they saved it at.
Right, yeah. But I was expecting like maybe a lot of like double pages and things like that. But no. So that aside, once I sat down with it, I've never seen the entire movie all the way through. I've seen bits
for
and pieces
shame.
here and there over the years. I know, but so it's not like I can think about the source material here and compare it. But I thought as far as the first part of a 4-part series, it definitely did what they were supposed to do. I was wildly intrigued.
You never read the book?
I started to when Coppola's movie was coming out. But yeah, I never sat down with the original story before that. Because back then, you think you know everything about Dracula just from everything else that you've absorbed over the years. But no, it's still it's just like Shelley's Frankenstein. There's still little things that I would like to eventually. Yeah, it's on my bucket list to read the old time, the original novels that these stories that these movies and these serials were based on.
It's twice the length of Frankenstein and half the book.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Stoker's Dracula is great,
right? But
it's nowhere near. I think Frankenstein may be the greatest novel ever produced.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, today, that's what I think.
Sure.
Right.
Now, is this? Do you know if James has other Universal monsters? Is this going to be is he going to do a collection? Is he going to do
I'm guessing
werewolf or?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay,
Wolfman.
all right.
But yeah, I'm guessing that. I mean, because it's got that Universal Monsters : in the title.
Right. So I just wasn't sure
this
if
is
it's
just
a
like
one-off or if it's the start of something.
I don't know how this makes you feel, but it's sold out. Dave sold out.
Awesome.
Has no comics at all, and it's a $5 book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the subsequent issues will be $5 as well. So, yeah, I think it's great. If we get a Frankenstein, wow!
Right,
I'm so down for that. Wolfman, awesome. Mummy, yes, give it to me. I mean, anything, any Universal monster they want to do, I'll buy it. And
I wonder if just because.
Let's be honest. Like on the Slack, you said, "Whoa!" Like you were loving the look of this issue, and I'm not poo-pooing any. Like if you love it, that's awesome. I'm happy that you love it, and I'm happy other people are loving it. I mean, great, but I think it's my crime is of overexposure to Dracula. Like I've seen a lot of Dracula adaptations. You know what I mean? Like
plus we've got 3 books featuring Dracula on our list tonight.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
Not like
it's a lot.
We're lousy.
And I've got 2 other vampire books that don't have anything to do with Dracula, but
right. Yeah,
there's
the Blade. And so we've got. I mean, the vampires and Dracula.
Vampires don't go away. They just don't.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. And I mean, yes, obviously. I was a huge mark for Department of Truth. I like Simmonds' work. Yes, and it's because of the Sienkiewicz. It's because of the Mutes. It's because of the Williams. I said the same thing about Rat Rice for the longest time. It's he should. I absolutely be thanking Bill and I think Bill. I think Simmonds kind of takes it in a. He definitely leans more towards Bill than Rod has recently, but I just think as far as this issue goes, the colors pop. I recognize the fact that it is adapting an old timey movie, and that's fine. It's not like as
1930s is not exactly old timey, but yeah.
I mean, it's almost 100 years ago. So you've got
it is. How about that?
How about that? Kind of old timey.
31, but yeah.
Whatever. No, I really did like it because I like the creators. I like the idea of it. I mean, the last time it also, for whatever reason, for like even a split second, it reminded me of tops adapting Coppola's Dracula.
Yeah, which was fucked up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mignola
wasn't it? It
just,
was Mignola, right?
Mignola on the covers, and in the interiors, and yeah, it was a freaky book.
And you got the card with it, yeah, and the poly bag. Oh, so good. No,
it's just too bad he didn't have the these nuts. But it's just there's got him.
Got him.
I liked it a lot, and again, and a lot of it. I mean, the red is popping.
The red is really popping. Like I think they had to be. Someone had to man that printer when these things were coming out to make that red pop as much as it does. You got to be vigilant because, yeah, there are many things that could whatever. But I will say, on
Red and Renfield, I like the issue a lot.
They did a good job. I may be being a little bit too hard on it. I don't know. Maybe I don't care.
I get it. No,
yeah.
I just I'd be surprised if you weren't hard on it. I absolutely get where you'd be coming from. And
I didn't get the Simmonds cover with Dracula embracing. I'm guessing it's Lucy. I got the cover that I don't know who did it. It's upstairs, but it is balls out Lugosi on my cover, and it's really good. I don't think the Simmonds cover's that strong, but yeah, it's a package, man, and it's our featured image for this week. It's a good looking book, and I did something special, and see if you notice it on this featured image. I'm sure you will, but yeah. So good on Image and Universal.
Now I'm just curious. I mean, and it's just for my own. I'd really like to know if they are planning on going forward, if it's just going to be these two working on them, or if James is going to be working with some of his other artists that he's worked on, like Something's Killing the Children, or
you know who I would love to see on a Frankenstein adaptation?
Who?
Wisniewski.
That would be
messed up. Yeah. That's why, I mean, if you who knows how stringent Universal is? They could be like Hasbro, where it's like, oh no, can't have this artist on it. Doesn't fit the template. But I don't know. But in the magic world where we get exactly what we want, I would really like to see Wisniewski or my dude, Matthew Allison. Yeah.
Oh,
he's the go-to, right? Matthew Allison would kill this. Duh. Whatever. But yeah, I just think I really I want this line to be profitable and continue. Yeah, that's what I want. If we're in that magic world, then yeah.
It's the profitable. It's from Skybound, so I mean, I think that's a given.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Excellent. What else do we have? We got to have more comics. Jason.
Gotta.
Yeah, dude. Well, first of all, shame on you for not reading Midnight Show. I'll just say that.
How can I read something I didn't buy? I'm stupid.
Well, we were provided the issue from Dark.
I'm not reading it digitally.
The second issue was excellent. Continues the pace. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. We'll talk about it when you read it.
Okay.
I can't say the same for Blade number 4. Elena Casagrande apparently can't draw 4 issues in a row, so they have us fill in already, and it pales in comparison to her beautiful work.
Well, get this. I hate to interrupt you, but Nick Klein's taking another break from Hulk.
Wow.
Like, stop. You know who's drawn? Wow. You know who's doing it? Braithwaite. Not
really.
Yeah, I don't mind Braithwaite, but
yeah, no, that's interesting though.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like, come on. Yeah.
So those are the vampire book, but the vampire book I enjoyed the most this week.
Do tell.
Yes, it's not a Dracula book. It is a different take on vampires. It is called Operation Sunshine, and it is you'll know it's by Dark Horse again. Dark Horse is getting it done this week. But this is a book I had to buy because it's drawn by my boy, David Rubin. David Rubin, you know what I'm saying?
Rubin a lot.
What's that?
I like Rubin a lot.
Damn straight, because you have good taste. It's written by someone who I did not, or by a pair of people who I am not familiar with. Henry Zabrowski and Marcus Parks. And I know nothing about them. This is the first I've ever heard of their names. So, but I ordered this because, well, Dark Horse is it's gonna be of a certain quality, and it's drawn by Rubin, and it's about vampires. So I thought, okay, well, it may in fact be terribly written. Who knows? But it damn sure is gonna look great. And I'm pleasantly surprised because I thought it was an excellent first issue. The story was right along par with everything else in the book. The premise is there is the protagonist is a young. Now Rubin draws her to look like she's in her, I'd say, early 20s, but based on what happens in the book plot wise, I think he probably aged her too much, because there's like at one point where she goes in to buy cigarettes from a bodega, and he won't sell them to her because she's too young. And she's like, I'm 350 fucking years old. But the point is that, I think to look at her visually, she doesn't look like she would be too young to buy cigarettes. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But she is, like I said, a 350-year-old vampire. But in this world, it's a world where vampires are like not in hiding; they're known to exist. Also, there is a class system. They're the OVs, which are the original vampires, like OGs. What? And those are creatures who were born as vampires and are very old and very powerful, and also are pretty fucked. They have pretty fucked up looks. Like they look more monstrous. And then there are what they call the bugs, and they're basically the vampires that are created, from humans. And in this world, though, they're not like, a lot of vampires in all the vampire lore we've talked about over the years are that, but in this case, they're even less than that, in the sense that these bugs have almost no powers. They're almost like familiars. They need blood to survive. They are susceptible to many of the things that, that would kill any vampire, but they don't really have the powers that the OVs do. They aren't particularly. They're stronger than humans, but they're not super strong. They don't, they can't transform or mesmerize. They can't do any of the cool things that like vampires can do, but they have all the downsides to them. So, they're kind of a minority class, or an indentured class of beings in this world. And as a result, they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And our protagonist, she has a thing where she tries to she kills OVs when she can. Like, she sets them up into traps and kills them, which you can imagine is going to get her into some hot water. And this is, I think, set in the future, although it's not like super like sci-fi future, but it does seem a little bit more advanced than our world. And she and a few others are approached by what looks to be an OV based on his look and his powers. And he recruits them for this Operation Sunshine, which is in effect a project that will, if executed properly, take out all the OVs. And so it's setting up basically a war between the bugs and the OVs. And, this is right up Rubin's alley, right? Like, he's great at these cities, these, big cityscape urban settings where he can combine different types of stylistic elements. And he's certainly great at the action, and he loves drawing creatures, right? He loves drawing, whether it be mythological or traditional horror. So all the kinds of things he likes to draw, I can see why he said yes to this project, even though the writers are not really proven commodities. And here you go, Dap. That maybe, I don't know. Apparently, they're the hosts of the Last Podcast on the Left. Apparently, that's a popular podcast.
Oh yeah, I have some book. Some hardcover
so there you go.
thing.
That's why I guess that's why they were able to get this book greenlit. But nevertheless, some of you may have probably avoided this book because you're like, oh, here we go. This is just a glamour project. I can tell you that I bought it not knowing who these guys were, and it was a great first issue. So I think it's a miniseries. I think it's 5 issues.
So when you say first issue, is this not called Blood Run?
No, it's called Operation Sunshine #1.
Because from the returns I got on my search, there's a collected edition called Operation Sunshine by Zabrowski, Parks, and Rubin called Blood Run. That's weird.
That I see it in Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
Because this is obviously...
Well, it's not available yet.
Oh, so that's a advanced solicit. Gotcha.
June 2024 advanced solicit. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
Got
That's the first arc.
So the first issue you have is the girl sitting on what looks like a roof with a marquee behind her.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Excellent. Want to make this right. That's all.
Yep. So good stuff. Listen, I mean, Rubin is one of my very short-list artists. His work just fires my synapses and gives me great joy. So anytime he's going to draw a book, I'm going to like it on some level for sure. But Rubin plus vampires, it's like it could have a nonsensical plot, and I'd probably find some merit in it.
I think I need this.
Nice. In the elevator pitch, which I guess solicitors feel compelled to do these days, it says it's Near Dark meets Ocean's 11. I can't speak to that because I'm not far enough along in the story for me to really say whether that's a fair elevator pitch, but that's the elevator pitch.
Elevator pitches are important because people don't have a whole... not to us, but to people who actually make these things happen.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess they don't have a whole lot of time, and you got to tell them, it's like Looney Tunes meets
the problem is
Blue Velvet.
Every other elevator pitch is like Saga meets.
Well,
like nah, bro.
Saga meets Star. No, this does look good.
Nice.
It really does. I'm on this.
Nice.
Thank you for alerting me to its existence. Where did you get this?
It's Dark Horse. What do you mean?
When?
Last week, I think.
Oh, okay. My bad. I missed it.
No, October 11th. It came
October 11th was the day, was the street day.
Yeah, so that's almost a month. I got this book. I read it digitally. To be fair, we get the Dark Horse solicit, so I read it that way. But
yeah, any way you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if I can grab this issue. I'm sure there's some on the shelves. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us this time. We hope you come back next time. Remember, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Omnibus, trade paperbacks, OGNs, manga. They have it all, and it's far less than the amount printed on wherever it is. So retail, you laugh at it. You're going to order something because why would you pass up savings? And you're going to receive an email confirmation that says, thank you for ordering from cheapgraphicnovels.com. What up? You're going to reply to that email and say, you know what? I have to thank my booze at 11 o'clock comics because if it's not for them, I wouldn't even know about you. And you're going to get free shipping on your next order. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Just go do it. And please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. We would love you to join the family, which means in addition to all the other stuff we give them on a daily basis, images, audios, I just dropped 6 hours of audio on the Patreon that nobody else can hear, save the patrons. So if you want 6 hours of garbage in your ear, we got the place for you. Downloads, vintage fanzines, pages from comics. You can weigh in on the book of the month, but the best thing is the dedicated Slack channel where we commune each and every day, all of us, on topics various and sundry. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Jason, I'm glad you're sitting down because I've read a new book by my man, Tony Daniel.
I knew it.
My dude, snap. You know how much I love Tony Daniel.
Oh,
right?
You love that guy.
I do. I do.
We don't let him host.
Well, this thing is called Edenwood, of which this is the first issue. It's Tony Daniel with J. David Ramos on color. The premise is not new. There's a war going on between demons and witches. Okay? The demons are from Necronema, right? and they've infiltrated our dimension and taken over the majority of the planet, save for Edenwood, which is a place where the witches have erected a magical barrier, so the demons can't get through. And it basically comprises, it's a bunch of states. It encompasses the majority of Lake Michigan. So you got Lansing in there, you got Des Moines, Iowa, you got Cedar Rapids, Minneapolis is in the confines of Edenwood, Duluth, Milwaukee, a good chunk of Lake Superior. So it's this magical realm where the demons can't get in, right? That's the premise of the thing. But this first issue concerns a bunch of friends, right? Who are looking for a dog. This girl, Adelaide, her dog goes missing, and they're out looking for the dog, but it's dangerously close to the barrier, right? And Adelaide is in love with a dude named Ryan, R-I-O-N. And Adelaide's brother, Elias, they may be twins. They both have the same platinum hair. I'm guessing they're twins. And Elias doesn't like Ryan very much. Gave him a black eye. And so they're looking for the dog, and the reason why Adelaide took them in this direction is because she knew that Ryan was going to be there. So Adelaide and Ryan are making kissy face, and she hears her dog. So she goes to follow the dog, but she goes too close to the barrier, and she's sucked into the barrier. And so is Ryan. And then he's transported somewhat magically, I guess, to the battle going on between the witch army and the demons. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. He almost loses his life at the hands of a soldier who was carrying a demon or infused with a demon, and he's rescued. He's rescued by a dude named Bastille, who's this, swashbuckling masked hero, and he saves him. And he's like, kid, you know what? You got two options. You could come with me and learn to fight these things, or you could die. And so he goes with him, and years pass, right? We get to see firsthand what exactly happens when a demon infuses a human. And towards the end, there's a thing called... what was it called? The vessel of the demons that gets them through the barrier.
Necronema?
No, a gatherer. A gatherer.
Oh, yeah, no, he's a gatherer. Yeah,
No, he's not. She is. Because the demons can't pierce the magical veil of Edenwood. They hide within the flesh of humans, and that gets them through. And then they can wreak havoc on within the confines of Edenwood, which is not good. And so at the end, it turns out that Ryan is the equivalent of Bastille. He's this swashbuckler, but he's fucked up. He was machine gunned. He's blown apart, but he didn't die, and his eyes hanging out. Yeah. And Elias is now in the army, and he's like, holy shit! It's my not friend Ryan who wanted my sister. It's strange, but I thought the issue was really good. The art was great, and this is removed from the brackets around this issue. So you should judge art based on what you've experienced, right? So page 1 to the last page was a worthwhile experience. Beautiful art. I thought the story was fun. But if you look at the copy on the Image website, the first issue doesn't even scratch the surface of where this thing is going. It seems that Ryan is a demon hunter, and he has to gather the famous demon hunters of all time dating back to the 1700s. That's not even hinted at in the first issue. Just nowhere to be found. And I think I'm not saying the issue wasn't worth my time. I enjoyed it very much, but I think it could have benefited from an extra large first issue. As many Image comics are. They're more page count, sometimes 2 issues for the price of roughly of 1. And, you get the entire picture of what this is and where this is going. You don't get that from this issue. You get some of it, but you don't know that, what is this with an elite team of demon hunters? That's nowhere. But, so there seems to be a discrepancy between the first issue and the pitch that's on the Image website. But that's okay. We don't need to know that. Like, that's just stuff we are privy to being citizens of the digital age, right? You can go on the Image website and read this thing and it's like, oh, okay. But if you only had the issue and you read it, it would be an extremely satisfying experience. As it was for me. I thought this was great. Obviously, I clutch at anything drawn by Tony Daniel with white-knuckled joy. So I am going to just revel in however many issues we get of this thing because I love his art. I did read all of Noctera only because of Tony Daniel's art. It was okay, but his art was wonderful. And now that he's at the steering wheel, driving not only the visuals, but the story as well, woohoo! I'm hoping this is people start to take notice of my man and what he's capable of. So, Edenwood, number 1. Dap, what did you think?
I
You don't have to tread lightly. If you didn't like it, just say it.
I did like it.
Okay.
Which isn't surprising. Tony is a talented artist. I'm not holding a grudge over what he did with Deathstroke. It's still, this was.
What did he do to Deathstroke?
I was going to say, I think the fact you just brought that up, talking about this book, means you are in fact holding a grudge. But that's
I'm not holding a grudge,
no,
but
I
kind of am.
I would had I were I still holding a grudge, I would not have checked this out based on Vince's recommendation. I just would have just said, like, fuck it, it's Tony Daniel, whatever.
Well, did he write Deathstroke?
Yeah, he wrote and drew. He gave him back his. It was whack. I read the first issue. I was like, I'm done. So, but this was years ago. This was after the New 52 and before Priest took on the book. So this was just a handful of issues. He tried something. It wasn't for me. That's right. Exactly. I'm sure other people dug it. It's fine. I mean, the Tony Daniel drawn Deathstroke, would love it. So. But no, I thought I dug the concepts here. I absolutely agree with you with the extra sized issues because it would have been. I mean, the kids 3 years ago bringing you up to speed as to why Elias doesn't care for Ryan, and things happen pretty quickly though. Obviously, with Adelaide in the woods and then running after Pip. And then all of a sudden, like within 2 panels, it's like we see the carcass we see the bones of the dog. So it's like that.
Yeah, shit's fucked up.
That was abrupt. Yeah. So there are things that.
It was I think the dog was a magical construction. It wasn't really the dog. They were luring her to the barrier.
Right, but and then Ryan finds
right.
Skeleton. So a lot of things seem to happen early in the book between panels, and you kind of just have to go with the flow and I'm not and I don't this isn't the first book Daniel's written, so it's not like I'm not gonna say he'll get better with age. These were deliberate choices and that's fine. I think the look of the Demon Killers are fucking amazing. I love the skull mask. I think the long coat. I also just wasn't really. It ends abruptly as well. It's a hell of a cliffhanger. It's like obviously it's to get you to hook you, so you come
Sure.
back for the next issue. But like it's like, hey, I know who this guy is, ta-da! And I kind of wanted more. So I mean that's a compliment then to the creator, because if I just shrugged and be like, oh, that's it, I'm going to check out the second issue, because I am curious to see what kind of world building is going on here, and whether or not any of the science or the magic starts to get explained somewhat, just so I can kind of follow along with whatever the hell the rules are in this world.
Yeah. Now, Jason, when I say witch army, it's tanks and guns and soldiers, but they operate at the behest of witches.
Got it.
So it's not like, broomstick riding, pointy nose.
No,
Yeah,
she's playing Quidditch.
Yeah.
I dug it a lot. I figured it was going to be here in your travels, since it wasn't brought up before now, but it's a well deserved in your travels recommendation.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Jason, when he pierces the veil into the demon lands, there's a soldier, and he's in a bad way, and he's laying there. He's like, "Hey boy, get me my flask. I gotta have a drink before I pass on." And he erupts into a demon, and there's fucking babies hanging off the demon. Like, what?
Yeah.
There's two babies. Like, what?
And even with the head ripped off, he's
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you right away.
That whore. But it's so weird. It's so But you know what?
He's having fun.
Tony Daniel can illustrate Pippi Longstocking, and I would buy the shit out of that.
You would.
I've always loved his work.
You have.
Yeah.
We all have our picadillos.
Why is it a picadillo? He's really good. Adelaide's a fox too.
Oh, she is.
Like,
she is. Yeah. I hope he finds her.
She's underage, so she's very fetching.
Well,
That's all
3
I'll say.
years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't exist. She's nothing more than line and color on paper. But I guess these days you have to say I don't want to get into it. But there was talk on Reddit about a video. You know how they do videos of characters doing things that they don't normally do in the works from which they're derived, right? You know what I mean, right? And they're just like, oh, well, judging by the math, this character would be 12 or 13 in this video. And I was like, dude, it's an animation. These characters aren't real. Who cares what age they are? Like, should that even be a thing? I don't know. It just seems that people are concerned with strange things these days when it's, in this case, pixels. But in this book, it's line and color on paper. The characters don't have age. They don't exist. They're just constructs. That's it. I don't get it. But whatever. I don't know why I went on that tangent. But I thought this book was really good.
I know you did.
It just needed a little bit more. I thought the ending was
agreed,
abrupt and weird. And yes, it's a cliffhanger, but I would have liked a little bit more spices in the sauce. You know what I mean? Tell me a little bit more what's going on.
Now I'm curious to know if the next issue is just going to pick up right here with this conversation, or if we're going to get another flashback to find out maybe when we see the punch to the eye when he snuck into the. I'm not trying to write the story for the dude. I just would have liked more, just because I didn't feel as good as it was. I could have still had more.
He obviously has a healing factor. You can't get blown apart by machine gun fire and walk away from it.
He's got arrows in his back. Yes, even before the machine gun fire, and he's got his eye. And I don't know if the eye was sticking out before the machine gun fire, but it's just I'm just chilling.
Hey, this guy's still alive.
Because took his book, my book. So
yes, Edenwood.
In your travels, I've going around the room and just looking for things that I haven't read yet, that have just been sitting here. So, like I did with the format that Marvel did recently with the Miles Morales Spider-Man trades, I started the first book of the Spider-Gwen collection, which collects Edge of Spider-Verse #2, which was her first appearance, the 5-issue miniseries following that miniseries, and the first 6 issues of the ongoing following the mini. All written by Jason Latour, all illustrated, except for one issue by Robbie Rodriguez. Chris Visions did the 5th issue of the 2nd volume, all colored by Rico Renzi. And topical because as of today, Netflix is airing Across the Spider-Verse, the 2nd Miles movie. And there's a lot more Gwen in Across the Spider-Verse than there was in Into the Spider-Verse. And a lot of that, especially with the color choices and the color play that they do in the movie, owes a lot to what Jason and Robbie and Rico did in the early issues. But yeah, I mean, you all know who Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, whatever she wants to go by now. You're familiar with the character. Understand that, in her world, she was bitten by the spider. Peter wasn't special. He wanted to be special, so he turns himself into the lizard. That plays a part in a couple of the chapters in this collection as well, because Kirk Connors is involved, and whether or not something else is creating these reptilian lizard creatures, we'll find out. But it's just pretty much just Gwen in this first book. I know the second collection picks up, I think, after the Spider Women crossover story. So at that point, obviously Gwen is aware of other universes, other spider folk. The George Stacy, of course, is a captain for the NYPD. He's supposed to, he goes on a mission to get Peter Parker's killer and bring Spider-Woman to justice. Of course, that doesn't really go according to plan. Frank Castle is a detective on the police force, and he's going to take over the operation. He's going to take over the investigation. Jean DeWolf is there. She has a past with Stacy. Reading them from start to finish as the chronological order that they were released, because I wasn't reading every issue. I wasn't reading the original series when it was coming out. So seeing where universes strayed or the doppelgangers or analogs, how they differ. Like, obviously Norman Osborn shows up. He was picked on in high school, so Gwen and Peter become friends with Norman, and then Norman, of course, feels guilty about what happened to Peter. He went away. He kind of becomes the Flash Thompson. He joins the army and basically becomes like this super soldier who, I mean, not with powers necessarily, but just he just goes all in and becomes a man of war. And then, but of course, the Green Goblin does appear. It was a lot of fun seeing Jason play with the legends and the old stories that whether it was Stan and Steve or with John, it was just seeing him manipulate them to fit Earth 65 and how it plays with what goes on in Gwen's world. Was interesting. I definitely get why it was a fan favorite series, and yeah, it looks great, of course, because it's Robbie. But yeah, I'm about to start the second collection. These little smaller size trades are just a lot of fun. They're just throw them in my bag, take them, read them whenever. But it's a great little. I like the form. I like the format of them. I think I've got most of them. When I'm done with this, I'll move on to I think Champions. But yeah, in your travels, any of these little smaller Marvel graphic novel trades, however they're promoted. I would recommend. But if you haven't, if you're only familiar with the character from the movies, I would definitely recommend checking out those early issues by Jason and Robbie Enrico of Spider-Gwen.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna have to sell that issue.
The second issue of Edge of Spider-Verse?
Yeah. I got
What's
a first.
it going for?
I got a first print. Looking at eBay finished auctions, non-CGC, about $450.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't have it, so good for you.
Damn.
Or like 400, 450 around there.
Yeah. Go for it.
Unslabbed? Yeah, you got to do that. Just dump that baby.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, why not?
Why not, indeed. It wasn't that long ago, maybe a year or two ago, we were riffing and we talked about the how it'd be great if there were more Western comics. You know? Well, there's some Western comics out there these days, gentlemen.
Yes.
Really? Like what?
Yes, there are. In your travels, people, I'm going to give you not one but two Western comics for your titillation.
I'm going to just write it now. Western-O-Rama.
Okay. Up first, I was not as big a fan of that Texas Blood as Dap. I thought what I read. No, I thought what I read was good,
Right.
but I didn't stick with it. So that must say something in and of itself. That I ended up finishing it. So I was a little reluctant when this was solicited because it's not only by the same creative team, but it's set in the same world, and that is the Enfield Gang Massacre. It's written by Chris Condon with art by Jacob Phillips, son of Sean. But that said, a couple things. One, I love Westerns. Two, nothing that Jacob was putting on the page in that Texas Blood was a problem. My dude got mad skills, and the fact that he's as young as he is and just starting his career is pretty stunning. Three, this Enfield Gang Massacre, while it is set in the same area of the country as that Texas Blood, is set 150 years ago, which is, when I talk Western, I'm talking Old West. I'm not talking modern Western. So after hearing some pretty solid feedback from some folks that also love Westerns out there with the first few issues, I thought, all right, let me jump in this. So 3 of 6 issues are out. It's a 6-issue miniseries, and it's phenomenal. It is, like I said, it's written by Condon, drawn by Phillips. They're kind of forming a duo, much like Brubaker and Sean. And it chronicles the last days of the Enfield gang. And essentially they are a gang of bank robbers. So they're ne'er-do-wells of sorts, but they're not like heinous. They're not Blood Meridian style, like, killers and torturers of people. But they are thieves and robbers. And they are mistakenly accused of killing someone in a town in Utah. And as a result, the town solicits the help of a Texas Ranger, Captain Eli. It's E-L-Y. I don't know if it's Ellie or Eli, but and he is very good at what he does, and he's pretty dogmatic about things. So if he thinks you're a murderer, he will do anything to get vengeance on you, and that includes murdering you, an eye for an eye. So the book is really a story of Ellie and his crew hunting down Enfield and his crew, and watching that chase and battle unfold. So it's incredible. I mean, we have sung Jacob's praises on the show more often because of his color work as the colorist on his dad's art, but certainly that is a big part of what sells these books for me. But everything about these books is really well done. The first 3 covers are interlocking. I assume all 6 will be. And the colors in this, I mean, he does really bold choices with these blue and pink and purple and orange hues that you don't normally see in comics. And they're almost like a wash, but not quite a wash. So there are other colors in the panels, but they're definitely like predominantly one of those color skews, depending on which character is in focus. It just really makes the book feel different. And I'm just a sucker, much like I am for vampire stories, for Western stories, especially when they're well done. This is bloody and tense, and it's anti-heroes. Yes, it is technically a ranger trying to chase after some bank robbers, but the bank robbers aren't really all that bad, and the ranger really isn't all that good. He's a bit of a sadist, and will do whatever he needs to do if he thinks he's right, even if he may not be right. So, definitely halfway through this, they're killing it. And then the other Western is by one of our collective favorites, Mr. Dan Panosian, and he's written by a certain gentleman who you may have heard of him, Scott Snyder, and that is Canary. Now, Canary was one of the many Comixology originals that Scott Snyder did when he signed that deal with Amazon a few years back, and this was released as 6 digital issues back in 2022. Now, like with all of those, Dark Horse is putting out them in single form, but I like the way they're doing this in that they're putting it out in a 3-issue release, with each issue being 56 pages. So you're getting a big old chunk of story with each issue. And that first issue hit the stands this week, and it was great. Oh my God, it was awesome. First of all, Panosian, right? Like, enough said. Like, anything Duke draws is going to be the badass. But this is just, I didn't know how much I needed a Panosian Western story until I saw this Panosian Western story. This is set in the 1890s, and by the way, I should have said, mixing metaphor. The Enfield gang is set in Texas. I said Utah because this Canary set in Utah. Sorry, this is in Utah in 1891, and they're not yet part of the U.S. And there's a lawman named Marshall Holt, and he is he's the sheriff of the town in question, and a teacher in town has her throat cut while giving a lecture by one of the students, and so Marshall Holt's trying to figure out what the hell's going on, trying to get to the bottom of it. By all accounts, the boy was the last name of the family is Apple, and he's the good Apple, because the Apples are like a bad bunch of people, but this boy has been a good boy. He's kind of the outlier. So the good Apple cuts the teacher's throat out of nowhere, and so he's trying to figure out what's going on. He heads out to the farm to confront the child and the family, and we find out that the boy does these heinous acts, and Holt connects with some other lawmen through the first and only phone in the town, by the way, and finds out that there is a pattern of these seemingly normal people doing crazy, sadistic, murderous acts cropping up all over the West. And a geologist makes the point that he believes the connection to all of these gruesome acts are that they're in towns that get their water supply from water routes that come from an area that is feeded from this mine in Canary, and the town is called Canary, and it's these mines there. And so, as we find out, Marshall Holt has a historical connection to those mines, because that is where he had his greatest shootout and took down his longtime adversary Hiram Tell. And we find out there's much more to that story than was told in the dime novels of the day. And basically, we're being led to believe that there's something going on in these mines that is contaminating the water and the surrounding areas, and it's turning people into maniacal sadists capable of heinous acts. And that's really what we get in the first issue, but this is rendered incredibly by Panosian. And, this was set up in a way in the sense that there's not a ton of like graphic violence, or certainly not too much action, but there is, the action we get is fucked up, because you see this kid doing some pretty fucked up things. And it's just the right amount of gruesome. I'd almost say it's like a horror comic as much as it is a Western comic, honestly. But yeah, so I'm totally in for the subsequent 2 issues. So you got 2 Westerns to whet your appetite. One is a horror Western, one's a more traditional Western, but they're both great so far. Both roughly halfway through. I guess technically Canary's already done, because you could read it digitally if you wanted. But yeah, so Canary and Enfield Gang Massacre.
I'm looking at Enfield Gang Massacre. Holy hell.
Yeah.
Dude, Jacob, listen.
He's creeping up on Daddy.
Let me tell you something. I don't know how old Jacob is, but whatever the first thing I read of Jacobs was very good, but it looked to me like it was derivative of Dad. I think these issues, he's coming along quickly.
Well, you could still very much see Dad's influence.
No doubt. But
Yeah.
I'm saying he looks tight now, though. It's
Oh,
coming
yeah.
along. Yeah, it's really, really.
Yeah, I'm
sharp
gonna
stuff.
have to get these.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait for the trade, but I just grabbed the singles. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is
I'm
amazing.
behind on Texas Blood, so I decided to just I was ordering the Enfield gang, but I just gonna wait until they're all here, and then I'll sit down and read it. But when I flip through it, it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Good suggestion for once, Jason. Very good.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Come on, how dare you?
You see Greta? You see our girl Greta got arrested the other day?
Greta.
How dare you? You know Greta Thunberg. The climate.
Oh, okay. What'd she do?
She got arrested in a protest. So
Well.
on brand. I mean,
Yeah, she's doing the good work. Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us one more time. Hope you come back next time. In the meantime, buy some comics, talk about them, come to our Facebook or other places and the Reddit. Yes, go to the Reddit and talk about them because it's like a friggin' ghost town there. Tumbleweeds.
I was going to say.
I wish we had some more movement on the Reddit site, which would be really nice. Or
Don't go to Twitter because we're not there anymore.
no, we're not. But if you really want to get in the stick of things, got to come to the Slack, which is the only way you can get there. Oh, jeez, is from patreon.com/11o'clockcomics. And say goodnight. David.
Good night.
What up?
Is that Vinny Beats?
Yeah, Vinny Beats.
Your car was not in the driveway.
It's in the garage.
I know, I got scared.
David.
Hey, you nailed it. All right, everybody. Hey, come back next time.
Hey, is Vinny going to do a shot with me at the wedding next year?
Jason wants to know if you're going to do a shot with him at the wedding.
I'll do more than
Wow. Pretty big
That's right.
balls for someone
What'd he
under 21. He'll
What'd he
do
say?
more than a shot with you.
Nice.
That's right.
Nice.
Get out of here. And not you, though. You make sure you come back because we love you so much. Tell them those exact words.
We love you so much. We really do.
Nice. You're
Rather-
my puppets.
Oh, damn, I forgot to mention. Daps, I need to ask Dap. I haven't even asked Dap. I created the 11 Oscars ballot for the year.
Nice.
So, yeah, I gotta get Dap to put it on the website.
Yep. No problem.
All right.
You know what puppet is in German?
Poop.
Close. Gummipuppen.
That's weird.
Yep. That's how they say puppet in German. You are both my Gummipuppen.
So, Puppet Master would be Gummenpuppenmeister?
Yes. Or Kaiser. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, Kaiser.
All right, everybody. We're out of here.
I'm going to be up in Germany, all up in Germany's guts in probably 5 months.
I've learned from my son you cannot say that.
Yep.
Oh, I can because I'm going to be there with my wife.
Oh. He just said it.
Yeah, it's going to be up in Berlin visiting Colin.
Oh, Berlin, the birthplace of David Bowie's best
Been
3
on.
albums.
That's it for that one.